Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, so you're going to do a scan, but before that, we're in the meta, stepping back to when you guys are still on Haza to discuss what it is that you would want to lens near or look for. So why don't we have that chat, like literally while you're still kind of like hacking into the system, so on and so forth. Who wants to trigger this conversation? So like, what are you guys going to do down there? You know?
Yeah, so I think with Valivia's having like would actually kick it off and say, if we manage to get on the planet and we decide to leave the ship, what should our targets be? I mean, as urban centers might be interesting, I guess the most important targets would be either manufacturing facilities or military bases. The first probably more, in case, I don't know, and like would look over to Sif and ask, I don't know how Geth reproduce, or should I, or rather are being built. I assume they get built in factories or something like that.
Now I want to go to the AI generator and type in Geth reproduction.
Oh no!
You don't want to do that.
You do not want to do that. That'll. I'll give you this little hint, Scott. The generators learn from the internet.
Oh. Oh God! Oh God! So you mean like one Geth is like wearing a fucking wolf suit, you know what I mean, and the other one.
Oh God!
Oh. Anyways,
You just see
are there Geth furry? Anyways,
just Geth being dressed up as Quarians for RP. Yes, you dirty organic.
look, Mom, I'm a creator.
No.
Yes, you dirty organic.
Yeah, that's right. You're gonna mine that hole.
Yeah,
Is that Geth BDSM basically?
Yeah,
I chose the wrong time to take a drink. That nearly ended up all over my computer.
Oh my God! Playing dominate the organic.
Yeah.
I think so. My opinion is if we can get anywhere near a volcano, at the very least, if turns out we can't land in wherever we're aiming for, we can divert to the volcano and we'll be a bit more hidden. Or we could even land there and move to the wherever we're planning to check out from the volcano.
I would agree. I mean, it's realistically the fact that if we are able to land on the planet and disembark, the fact that the Turian military was able to slip past the Geth probes and everything to actually put boots on the ground here is probably the win that they were after.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I think anything else is just satisfying our own curiosity, which I'm as curious as the rest of you.
Well, to that regard, if I may, is if we do manage to land near volcano, I do think that the Turian military would, to a certain extent, would appreciate if we, perhaps landing in a city, we would not only show that the ship is capable of doing that, but also that we would be able to get additional information, which I'm not sure how much information we can get with landing on a volcano, in the sense of we may step outside and search around, but
the
being
symbol
on
of landing in the city is a big one.
And also, even if we want security from a volcano and we decide to disembark, we don't want to venture far. So a urban center probably has more capability of also hiding us visually from.
Yeah, my suggestion is that we look for an abandoned location to land, and then should complications arise, whether it be it's not as abandoned as we realized, or we get noticed, we can divert to the volcano and maybe try and hide there. So we pick one that's nearby to a volcano at least.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. As for what you said, rather than just putting boots on the ground, more or less on the planet, I think landing, if we can, in one of the cities is preferable.
Everything
It's-
all right, Scott?
Powerful symbol.
The last person that I was voting for, the person I was voting against, conceded. So,
Oh shit!
and it's awesome because they're a neighbor of mine. They live about 10 or so houses away from where I am. So,
Just see Scott run out and like take that.
Ha! Back inside. Okay.
Yeah.
should go put his opposition sign right on his front lawn.
Yeah, green. We understand that the frames are different to the Geth themselves. The Geth themselves are the programs running in them.
So that's yes, and that is true and not true. As seen with Legion, the quality of hardware that the chassis is made out of directly impacts the actual intelligence and whatnot of the Geth. So one of the things that the Geth do is this sounds weird, but an individual Geth, so an individual creature, sapience, whatever you want to call it, like a person, isn't a single chassis. It's usually a group of chassis that move together, and they
Yes.
transmit. Yeah, they use each other's processors and so on and so forth to transmit information, kind of like back and forth between each
Legion
other.
having multiple Geth in
He's
his own
100.
chassis,
Yes, he's
the
100.
unique one. Yeah.
Yes, he was more or less like if everybody else was running off of a fucking 1992 computer, he's one built in 2024, right? Like he's the iPhone chassis, right? So he is 100
example
Geth.
which the Geth we see more in 3, I believe, are based off of.
No, less 3, and probably more Andromeda. So
Uh,
I don't know if they're in Andromeda. I assume so, but in 3 you
not.
don't see that many of those. So the way that the Geth usually stay smart is they'll have kind of like if you think the B1 battle droids from Star Wars, they'll have like a set station, like a nearby station that will help to coordinate their knowledge, their overall AI with one another to make them smarter. And the way that the game is
that's right.
supposed
I
to
remember
play
that
out,
on the mission when you invade.
as you kill more and more Geth, each Geth that you're fighting against gets dumber and weaker and less. Kind of like if you're playing Star Wars and you're dealing with the minions. As you kill minions, the minion group gets weaker, right? It's supposed to kind of like work like that.
So it means that a singular Geth is pretty stupid, but it's like their combined collective mind that makes them sentient.
Yeah.
So long as they're A, within a short range of each other, or B, within a range of like an array tower, right?
Okay.
Or what have you. So yes, exactly what you just said there, sir.
But does that mean the question is, and I guess that would have been the question to Sci-Fi, is can they reproduce, like make new Geth, or is there a finite number?
That's a good question. They are able to increase their numbers. As to how capable they are at evolving their design, well, if you look into even just Taurian battle logs for the few encounters they've had with the Geth, you can see some of the types of Geth that they've interacted with are certainly not what we designed. We didn't design Geth to be. They were meant to help with day-to-day life in society and to a degree security. These styles that you're encountering, these different chassis, these are beyond what we made. So yes, they can evolve their own nature, but how much so we don't know.
I mean, to that respect, I would argue a singular individual, organic or otherwise, is able to evolve multiple times in life to be completely different, but that doesn't change the number. So you kind of avoided the question of if they're able to multiply their number.
Yes, I'm sorry. I thought I said yes to that initially. we did not make the sheer number of Geth that have been encountered since then. I mean, if you just look at what we've picked up and kind of like beep, 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 pull up on the screen, the number of space stations that we've seen. I mean, they've absolutely been able to increase their numbers to be able to fill up these space stations worth of Geth. Yeah, across the board, yes.
And do they sow internally or with factories, or how do they do that?
That we don't know, do we? That's all been hidden behind the Perseus veil. We originally set up facilities where we would produce the Geth, as far as my knowledge holds for the old days. And eventually you would automate that process, just like you have in your own. But
just as a note, it's my understanding that the Geth units, they have another word for it, platform. The Geth platforms themselves are not like a Geth. That's the Geth's platform. That one Geth program runs the platform. They like suits of armor. Think of them more like they're manufacturing suits of armor that the Geth can then go into and control.
And again, from my own perspective as Scott, the one Geth can control multiple platforms at once.
Yes,
and that's how they are able to. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So
I was just
how many
simplicity,
Geth there
saying.
are? That's a big question mark. That's unknown. Legion is unique in having his own personality. How many of those personalities exist? That's never been explored. So
Yeah.
we know at least 3: Legion, those that serve Harbinger, and those that stand against Harbinger.
And then
That's all we know.
depending on what you do in 3, that's when they actually do gain a sort of personality of their own. They become individuals.
If you do green option.
The Reaper upgrade code. Like that
part, yes.
Yeah, they use the code of the Reapers that allow the Reapers to be individuals in themselves. They use that to help adapt their own code to be individuals themselves.
Yeah, more independent, exactly. But so as far as it's written canonically at that time frame, which Legion may not even exist yet, I think Legion's actually freshly created. Anyways, there's 3 that is known when you're going through 2 and playing 3. So
the Harbinger one, I think, actually wouldn't be active yet either, right?
Actually, so funny thing about that.
good question.
I can't remember. I know what starts. I just cannot remember when it happens. There's a sorry, go on.
Yeah, but
The Harbinger one, remember, so if you're talking about Mass Effect, the first game, that's only 20 something years in the future from when we're playing this game, and they were already active before the game started.
No, there's a book set before the first game that is the actual activation of Sovereign.
Okay.
They located Sovereign floating inactive in orbit around a planet, and that's the mission that Saren was on, and that's why Saren went rogue. That's the mission that's why Anderson didn't get to be a Spectre, because it was pinned on Anderson as being a failure because of him.
I will try to get that answer, but why don't we get back into what we're doing here?
Yeah, I don't think it's important.
I've read a couple of the Mass Effect books. That's how I know this.
Yeah. No, you're good.
So, I mean, with continuing that line of questioning, then the final question for Flavius to Sci-Fi would be, then do you think it would be
2162, 5 years from now.
Yeah, okay.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Do you think it would be viable to scout such facility? Production facility?
You're asking her that.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you. I was interested in coming to this mission for a few reasons. Obviously, to test all this equipment that we've designed and so on. But truth be told, as part of my pilgrimage, I'm hoping to return home with information that can be used about the status of the planet, what the atmosphere is like, how clean the air is, if the soil is still usable, whether or not our home world is something that we could even put in our sights as a potential of something to work towards in the future, or if it's something that we should just bury in our past and continue to search for a new home world.
Do you
So with that
feel-
being
Oh,
with that being said, that's the reason why I wanted to come and what I've been here for, and of course to be able to smell the air of where my people come from. When it comes to the Geth, that's a factor of the viability of our people in the future. But for me, it was kind of always a tertiary thing. Um, is it even an option before I worry about whether or not they're in the way? So when you're talking about discovering of facilities, yeah, that's important. But we can get that information by sending probes to facilities rather than endangering our own lives. The Geth are dangerous. They kill on
Is
sight.
is there any locations you know of that before? Sorry, this is meta-wise. I can't remember, what do they call the evacuation? The retreat.
Yeah, something
Was
like
it
that. I
something
honestly
like
don't
that?
remember off the top of my head.
Was there any facilities before the retreat that were monitoring atmosphere and weather phenomena and all of that we might be able to investigate?
I guess a weather station is the best word to put it.
Yeah.
Certainly, there's going to be many of those satellites that would take care of that and so on. But if what you're looking for, everything that was suggested beforehand by Captain Nix, well, yeah, we go to a facility that's near a volcano, same as any other world. If you're measuring seismic activity and overall weather forecasts and whatnot to make sure the safety and longevity of the facilities around that area, they would certainly have that kind of equipment. So including an uplink to whatever satellites might still function to collect that data from above atmosphere, as well as barometric sensors and so on from inside the atmosphere as well. I think it's a viable option.
Sounds like the best course of action is to find a population center that was near volcano. Do you have any options?
She, because you guys are obviously were this again when you were originally doing the scan from
When we were
afar with the
looking the
thing
scan,
that
yeah.
auto hacked into. She would isolate two different locations and point both of them out and say, either of these two could potentially work as options for us.
Okay.
That's fair.
It's just
I was-
the selecting which one would just be a matter of as we approach what current orientation we are to the world, to the planet. As the planet rotates, we just have to choose whichever one's closer.
Indeed. Well, of course, I was thinking of a more military side of aspects as, well, I didn't really think if the planet was still viable or not. I guess machines don't worry much about the ecosystem as we might.
Well, if all goes well, we might go undetected enough that we might be able to pursue other points of interest.
Well, I can
Yes.
tell you one thing above everything else. This mission is immensely important to me and my pilgrimage, just as it's important to my people and us being able to finally have a home, as it is, of course, for you and your military research. But I have no intention of drawing arms and facing off with Geth. Let's be clear. I would be more than happy to dismember, to shut down any Geth I come across, whether if I burn through their firewalls and tear them apart from the inside or toss a grenade at their chassis. I would be glad to destroy any Geth I come across. But we're at such a densely packed center of where they are. If we get detected, God forbid, if we get detected from, or was it Killer Shalah, whatever they say, their goddess. If we get detected from while we are outside of our ship, the amount of time it would take for us to just get back to our ship, get the systems going, take off, and try to leave world, the amount of system defenses they likely have in place, I don't know if we would be able to escape. And if we leave the Vale, they've already proven before their willingness to push through on the rare occasion. They would likely follow us. I don't
Yeah.
want to engage with the Geth.
I don't think neither of us wants to do that. It would be like a Krogan sneaking into a Turian base.
There's like a moment where Novic's like, "Do I speak?" Nah, I better leave it. he kind of wants to get into a fight with a Geth for the hell of, like, to say that he's done it. Doesn't necessarily want to do it himself, if that makes sense. Like,
Or even
he'd want to do it to
here.
prove himself.
Like, can I do it like somewhere else? Like, not
Exactly, yeah.
Like, if you're going to
what
encounter
we're-
a queen, like a bee queen, why don't we do it like on a random branch and not inside the hive, right? What's up, sir?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I was just saying, like, the fact that we may be able to be like the first people to step onto this planet in however long is just
It would
it's
massively
crazy to think
strengthen-
about.
Yeah, it would massively strengthen relationships between the Turian hierarchy and the Quarian flotilla. Like,
Yeah, well,
massively.
especially because we brought a Quarian with us.
Exactly.
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Would
think
you-
it's
would you say
worth
that out loud?
Going for that. I mean, if he's saying it out loud, then Novik would probably reply out loud.
Yeah,
I just don't know if that was
would
in
talk it
game.
out loud.
You guys sounded like you were talking meta. But
I mean, we were, but it can be.
He can
in-game.
easily be crossed over. So yeah.
Yeah.
God, so I'll allow you guys to cross it over. However, so how would you respond to that in-game Tesh as opposed to?
I believe it's. I think that's a good thing to consider. It would massively strengthen the relationships between the hierarchy and the flotilla, and I imagine it would help your people quite a bit.
Captain, could you temporarily disable the VI?
Can I do that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. VI disable for a minute. I don't know.
60 seconds counting. And it disables.
Yeah.
She goes, they're always recording. They're always listening. I hate those damn things. In short, no. I am not here at the wishes or by the graces of the flotilla. I am here working independently with a concept that was kind of cobbled together and that your engineers were able to somehow make function, though it's rattling and on the verge of falling apart. Honestly, if the flotilla found out that I was doing this, they would not be happy. We could potentially be triggering an all-out incursion from the Geth. If they discover that we were here, that we came this close, that we prodded them in their home. God, that freezing. And then
Unless
you can imagine the
we come back
VI
with-
starts like powering back online.
No,
What were you saying?
Before that, like, before it powers
Yep.
back up, it's
Yep.
like, unless we come back successful.
You say, you come back successful, and all of a sudden, 1 minute has passed.
Olivia says, while I might disapprove of your way of doing things, I understand your intentions, and I mean, the Geth have proven to be a genocidal threat to the rest of the galaxy. So, knowing our enemy is of utmost priority.
But let's get to know them from observation and not interaction.
Agreed. So most likely target for landing is some type of monitoring facility close to a volcano.
Okay. Let's do this.
So flat.
That was a question, but okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
well, that
Dude.
it sounded like a statement
It
to me.
sounded like a statement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it did.
Yeah.
but also I agree with it, so I'm good.
No, that's funny. I was like, maybe that's the Australian talking, but no, even Tesh heard that too. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I thought I left it open ended, but apparently not.
No, Otto does that too. Otto sometimes asks questions that sound like statements. I'm like, there was a period there, you know, like that. So,
This is where
anyways.
the danger begins.
okay, so this is where again, because you have that disadvantage on your landing, because part of that landing is going to the closest facility while also it being actively scanned. I don't need a roll to scan at this point in time. Most of the information that she's picking up is passively collected information, not actively collected information. Again, a camera turned on does not transmit anything. A thermometer, picking up does not, like, she's not sending signals out to pick stuff up. So Tesh, we're gonna have you roll. But right before you roll, as you set up your disadvantage, right before you roll, I'm going to have her being like, I'm just kind of like setting up the scene. She'd be like, this can't be right. No, hold on. Let me check the equipment. This can't be right. This is strange. We need to land to see if... What? No.
Is something... Sci-Fi, please make sense of yourself.
Finish your sentences as he's like trying to like guide carefully.
You don't understand. I mean, quarry and construction... Quarry and construction was always designed well. I mean, hell, we're hundreds of years later floating inside ships that we designed hundreds of years ago with very old technology, and they're still functioning. Granted, barely, but they're still functioning, right? But our buildings should have decay on them. They don't. There should be rust. There should be overgrowth. There should be, but there's not. We need a land. I don't understand. And you're working on it.
Literally doing it. Yeah.
I look to Nix. Continue as planned.
Continue as planned. Bring us down.
Okay.
Yep. And that is, of course, being picked up as you,
Ready?
Yeah. Rena!
Oh, hell yeah!
You readed the
dead.
shit out of that.
Fuck
Oh my
yeah.
god. Okay, I won't lie. Is at this point in time, so I literally set the DC to be against you. I literally set the DC to be multi-tiered. 18 was the minimum for success, but you were on a fucking time limit. Like, this was all supposed to be built against you because of the fact that, like, okay, are you actually going to land there? You're probably going to have to get out. Like, I fully expect, and you are succeeding. So again, if you had gotten beneath an 18, absolutely all alarms would have gone off immediately. You got a 20. Like, this is great. Okay, cool. So not only are you able to successfully fly in and so on and so forth with how it is that you're approaching, avoiding where you imagine like the most dense sensors are, visual sensors, so on and so forth, like satellite surveillance and all the other fun stuff. Not only are you able to navigate this well, utilizing atmospheric cover, like cloud cover and topographical aspects to your benefit, right? So like being near mountains and et cetera, et cetera. So not only are you able to utilize that to find the facility, we have to roll that final D6. So again, we rolled a 4 so far. Cap is 10. Rolled a 4 so far. I said there's a question mark, right? Because of flying through the atmosphere. Luckily, atmospheric pressure on Ranok is low. It is a 0.93 compared to Earth's atmosphere. So that means a little bit less friction, and its gravity is lower too. So it's a 0.89 of Earth's gravity. So again, it's easier to maintain going in. But that being said, why don't we have Nori roll us that final D6 and hope to hell he rolls low. Hey! Holy shit! Oh my god! Okay.
Green coming through.
Yes, he did. So the question mark number that he had that I had put in there for you guys was a 2 for this planet. I wasn't being extreme with it. So
we're
when
at
he
a
rolled
7.
the
Yes.
Yeah, when he rolled the 1 and 4, that actually equaled 6. So it was this is a 7. So for him to have thrown you over the top, if you were at a 10, there was a chance that they would find you, but not necessarily find you. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Appreciate it. There's a chance they would find you, but not necessarily. If you were an 11, absolutely they would have found you. Like, right? So, of course, when I hear an alarm, my mind immediately goes to Halo Shields down. It's just my childhood. So either way, yeah, you're at a 7. You guys are able to fucking pull your way in and actually land at a facility. And as soon as you land at that facility, it's a matter of how or when you get to the area, it's a matter of how you're going to land and so on and so forth. So there are a few different ideas of how you could properly jettison this heat. Obviously, being near the volcano, one of them is to literally bring yourself to the mouth of the volcano itself and just start farting in it, right? But Green had made a suggestion in chat earlier, I think right before we went on our break. I don't know if anybody read that. And then I don't know if you guys had any of your own ideas of how you wanted to do this as well. So I'll leave it to you to like where you actually want to properly bring this down for XYZ. Go ahead.
That is a really good idea. Using like the underground either irrigation or pipe system to like flood it into there, so it's got a bit of shielding and stuff to dissipate it.
Excuse me, what is Norway's idea?
That one to flood it into like
to use a toilet
and sewers.
Also,
Flood
to
out
land
heat under
okay.
the city, basically.
I mean,
leave it to
yeah.
the Norwegian to think about geothermal. What's up?
I mean, that's more the Icelandic, like Icelandic people, but yeah.
No, doesn't Norway have a decent geothermal location as well? Isn't that also on a fault line? No, that is Iceland. You're right. I'm so sorry. Never mind. I'm just thinking cold.
I think that is a really good idea because that lets us land in the city now, and it gives us less time from when we jettison to when we land to build up a little bit more heat. Like we will jettison and land, and we will have dealt with the heat, and then we got to just charge up for the next jump.
So the idea of I think what Norway is trying to say is because you're so beneath your because you're gonna be able to do like a systems diagnostic and see like, all right, we're at 7 out of 10 more or less for like we're getting critical. Like this is where like your range would go red if you were looking at like a right. So because you're sitting there, he's suggesting I believe that you go into the city and actually like you land in the city and connect to pipes in the city and jettison down.
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah. As opposed to like looking for like natural, shafts that happen to exist or whatever. So he's saying connect to pipes because then you can properly shoot down piping. And since like if you're talking about a sewer system, it's not like the sewer system is working right now, right? And it's not like people are keeping track of heat inside of sewer systems. Like that's kind of awkward, so.
It's not a bad idea.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to misinterpret what you're saying there, Norway. Back to you boys though. But that would have you landing inside the city. Who knows how many things are there, if any, and so on, versus landing outside of it.
Another option is we could land. I imagine there would be runoffs and stuff outside, like on the edge of the city. Like on the outside of the city, we could land sort of in a runoff and vent the heat in there, and then go into the city from the outskirts.
What do you mean by a runoff?
Like
suburbs, or what do you mean?
No. There are places where they I
pipe
imagine
ends?
there's a water source nearby.
Oh.
There would be places where the filtered or not, but wastewater goes out into that. The runoff area would.
So something like that would be more difficult to do because like what we're suggesting from Norway's suggestion is to land on the ground and connect in there. Whereas those runoff areas are usually coming out the side of a wall or even underwater is where it's ejecting that shit out, right? Literally.
I know that's why I was sort of saying it's like asking if there's anything like that.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, in theory, yes, but that'd be more difficult to do. So,
yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. So what do you, Anno and Jake think about? Being in the city means you don't have to travel too. You're literally there. So
I'll
describe it in a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, the only worry I have is like that the city might be full of cameras that are still active.
Okay, so cool. So because you're bringing up that point, Ano, I want to give a little bit more detail. We're
Mhm.
using the word city, but let's be clear. You're right by a volcano. This is a town with a meteorological, seismic, and volcanic kind of facility that happens to be here. But because those places can't function unless you're in the most extreme locations where things have to be like helicoptered in or whatever, those things can't survive isolated very well. So there is a town that happens to be very nearby from here, from the actual like where that facility is. So more or less, if you landed in the town as opposed to cities, so we're talking about a location that probably had a few thousand Quarians living in it, not tens of thousands of Quarians living in it. So if you're land inside the town to connect to those pipes or whatever, then you would be doing your walk or your trek to this facility heading out of town, which would work in your favor. But if you're talking about cameras, I would like to believe that the Quarians had a smarter approach to modern society than what humans do. Humans more or less read dystopian future books back in the 80s and 70s, and they said, let's make that our lives, and everybody a fucking Ring camera and put it on their house so that they could be watched all the time. I imagine Quarians did not go that route and do not have cameras everywhere for their own infrastructure prior to the Geth taking over. Now, if you're talking about Geth cameras, of course there's going to be like sensors or whatever kind of like put in various places. But I think the idea of coming to this facility in the first place is that what's the likelihood they have one here? Right? Like, it's not like you're showing up at like Atlanta or like Sydney or like, Bangkok or something, right? Like, what's the likelihood that they have one in a random town in the middle of nowhere by a volcano?
Sweet.
That's fair enough.
So,
And that's where the
Risk it for the
scanning
biscuit, eh?
Yeah. I think
Right.
landing in the town and using the pirates to vent is a good way of doing it. That way we can have a bit of cover from if they happen to have something fly by. They're not necessarily going to be like, hey, there's something in the town. They're just going to fly past, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think we've done as much as we can to minimize risk.
Yeah,
At this
I
point,
agree.
we'll see what happens.
cool. So to take together everything that we kind of just discussed, cobbled together with your 20 total on your vehicle check, which is awesome. You guys come into the facility, you're getting low, and it's like one of those, where are we going to land? Well, we had like these 2 or 3 different options, and I imagine whoever had presented it, I think Arno's character is the engineer, so we'll have Arno's character be like, perhaps we can pump our heat into underground shafts. That way, there's no chance of them detecting it from satellite, because it's going to be naturally insulated by the ground itself, as well as whatever metal containment that they have, And you're like, I like that idea. How can we make this happen? And Sifa would, beep, pull up like, again, you have old maps of what the whole planet looks like. Like, it's a more advanced Google Earth. It's, Flugel Ranok, right? That happens to exist. And she could be like, just at the outskirts of the town here, there's a water treatment facility, a sewer treatment facility that happens to be here. If we land close enough to it, if you can get that kind of precision, we might be able to just kind of connect the pipes using the loose pipes that are over there. And you're like, can I do that? Give me that map. And you like zoom in, and she's like, these are the different access points. So like, oh, I could do that. And it is one of those things where even Jake's character's sitting there like, can you really get that close? And you fucking bring it in. You bring your ass in more or less like right on top of where the piping would be that you would need to do this. So we'll get into RP in a second, but you were able to easily land in such a way that as you guys get out of the ship and interact with the environment, you're going to have to, I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to farms before, like IRL farms, but a lot of times where the irrigation systems work is you'll have rainfall will feed, but you have to have like ponds or like man-made lakes that are nearby for in case it's a drought season. And what you'll do is you'll have a pump that will pull water out of that area, and they'll have pipes that literally the workers will go over and connect the pipes together as needed, and just they usually keep them all stacked up nearby. You have to imagine that like they have these additional pipes for tap-ins and whatnot that they need to do for their different clean outs and adjustments or whatever, for dropping in their drones to go and examine, blah 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 blah. So your characters are going to have to eventually get out of the ship and connect this to your exhaust area. Cool.
I realize we're turning this into a giant heat sink, is what we're doing.
Yes, exactly that. Yes. So back to you, Tesh. Sorry. So as you're landing, there's like, can you actually get that? And you're like, no, I got this. I'll allow you to like RP that landing. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Or
So it'd be one of those things where he would do the thing where he comes in quickly to the general area, slows down, and then just starts like doing tiny adjustments, like no, a little bit that way, and he'll actually like bring up a camera that's like for showing the bottom of the ship and just being like, no, I can get a little closer, moves over, and then touchdown. Just I'm happy with that. He like pats the dash and just, I like this ship.
Well done, Novik.
I
Now-
can see why they picked you for this job.
Everybody suit up.
There was a
He
less.
sits there a little bit proud there and just okay, and then gets ready to suit up with the rest of them.
There was a less than 30% chance that the path and trajectory that you had selected would have allowed you to land this way.
I'll
Congratulations.
take that as a compliment.
Yeah. So you say everybody suit up kind of like immediately. So everybody suits up. You guys go over to where it is that you're going to get your proper, equipment and everything on. Now, that heat that is kept inside your ship, remember how we built up to the 7? That's there. That 7 can only be contained for so long. The longer you hold it, it builds up on itself as well, because it can only be contained for so long. Imagine, I don't know how much you guys watch fusion reactor technology that we're working on in real life, but more or less it's a magnetic containment field that keeps like the heat effectively inside of a swirl running around like a small little area, keeps it. But like even just
It's
functioning,
still gonna build, yeah.
yeah, those magnets themselves build up, so you can't like just let it sit there for a long time. Eventually it has to exhaust as it builds up. So everybody quickly goes over and get on your various, or you probably even potentially suited up as you were leaving Haza
Right.
before.
Probably,
so you grab your
actually,
actual
yeah.
weapons.
I
'cause you're not
do
gonna have
want
your
to
weapons on.
I do want to make a point of it though that I will take point getting off, and I'll try and arrange it so that nothing against Sci-Fi, but she'll probably be the last off the ship.
Okay, sure. So
The Turian operation. It's only fair that the Turians are the first ones on the planet. I know it's your old homeworld, but you're all good, bro.
when she looks at you again, you can't really see her face because like the but she gives you that, like, her face clearly lingers at you for like a second or two, and then she says, "Okay."
No, I imagine she takes a pencil and like over her visor she just draws like angry eyebrows.
I've seen so many of those online before. Where it has
this
like
is
the
actually
IFA.
gonna.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is actually going to be a really cool thing. He's, I'm gonna obviously Novi's gonna stand up, get like weapon stuff ready, and then just before we're about to like start heading off the ship, you'll see him like fiddle with the Omni tool, and then the tech armor pops up, and then another barrier, like you just see like a wobble in the air above the tech armor as he like sort of does a bit of a stretch, moves, checks that he can move just fine.
Yeah.
And
As
it's
you
just
guys are,
a lot of static around him.
as you guys are kind of setting all this up, I'll have my. I think I have a sniper rifle. I think.
I think you have one of everything, sir. I think you have literally everything.
So you could. I would just be looking down the scope, checking just checking the perimeter, looking at things, seeing if anything pops out.
All right, before we get to that point, so you get the tech armor and everything put on. You'll actually have the VI itself will actually come on and say, again, corporal. I think we were using the phrases. We really got to come up with like ranks or whatever to call you guys.
Yeah.
Corporal Novik, I would like to make a suggestion. Additional protective measures are always suggested and appreciated. However, if you were trying to maintain this as a stealth mission, it is possible that the additional protections that you have put in place will make you more easily detected as you are traversing the surface of the world.
Good point. He would leave his biotic barrier out because he doesn't. I don't think that's going to be. That's not an electronic thing. That's a
It's ESO, yeah, you're good.
thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. But he'll leave the tech armor off this time. I imagine it'll be a case of he's like going to activate it, and that's when she says it, so I don't use a usage. Yeah. So yeah, I also I happen to just read that apparently I can actually activate it as a reaction to taking it to like when something hits me, I can activate it as a reaction to take the damage. So it doesn't even matter if I have it activated ahead of time or not.
Cool. Well,
That's
it
cool.
does for the sake of whether or not you have a reaction. First round of combat, you would.
I guess that's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
So, but either way, yes, I gotcha. Hopefully you're not the first one attacked, anyways, right?
Hopefully,
or attacked at all.
Actually, I mean, I'm fairly beefy, so it's not too bad. I will be once I'm fully set up. Essentially, the tank-ish support tank.
So that being said, she would then turn her attentions to Captain Nix. That also goes true, though to a lesser degree, for the kinetic barriers that you generally would have engaged on your suits. It is common to activate what is known as shields as you step out of the ship and into dangerous terrain. The fields that you are emitting to reduce the kinetic energy of incoming high velocity rounds does make you stand out as more easily detected. While the likelihood of being detected is not extremely high because you are just 3 or 4 individuals traversing the planet, it does make it more likely so. My suggestion would be for you to deactivate your shields and only activate them if you believe you're going into an immediate danger.
Oh boy.
Siva responds and says, you see why I don't trust these things? Oh, please, go in there. Shields down. I'm sure everything will be fine.
See if we have a Geth collaborator, that's the least of our worries.
Brutus laughs at that. But he says, I don't like the idea of going in without the shields on.
Well, I don't think neither of us does. If we are getting shot, it's going to be the least of our problems, as I already said. So lowering our shields increases the possibility of not getting shot at all, in a way.
And that is what we've done the whole time. We've tried to mitigate risk. So whilst I don't like it, once again, I think we go in risk prevention.
Indeed. So let's get this done. We don't have much time until the heat shield overloads.
Yep. Are we going with or without shields? My brain flipped on the last.
Without,
the end of the conversation.
I believe.
Without. Okay. So he'll like as they're stepping off, he's like, I feel naked. He's used to having like multiple layers of shields on. And it's like this is
One thing, I mean, I assume drones would do the same, Scott.
Drones would do, yeah. So drones use such a small amount of power and whatnot that you wouldn't really have to worry about them. It's not like drones have these like big kinetic, again, you're like putting out a significant amount of power to reduce kinetic energy of a weapon coming in, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a drone is just running off of a battery. So
yeah. So as we are disembarking, then Valivius would like, I don't know how drones are deployed in Mass Effect, but basically deploy a recon drone and
They're from the
order it.
Omni tool, I believe. Like the idea is the actual drone itself is tiny, but it's got the hard light around it.
Yeah, the hollow or whatever around it. Yeah, the actual drone itself.
Yeah.
If you're, as you're saying, like imagine I have literally the yolk of an egg here. Like this would
Yeah.
effectively be the drone. and everything that you see around it is like a hollow display. Barring certain exceptions, if you have specifically an attack drone, like a
They
rocket
have like
drone
the
and shit like that,
hard light stuff on it, right? The
yeah,
same
yeah.
tech armor stuff.
Yeah, they're built out a bit more. Those are going to be a little bit larger, so on and so forth, because they have to effectively, just like a an Omni tool, they have to be able to quickly fabricate what they need as needed. You know,
So, but basically, yeah, Valise would
Oh, is that how
probably
that works? Okay.
would deploy probably 2 recon drones. Or actually,
how many drones
I-
can you put out at once?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. I mean, I will plop it in so everybody can read it. How do we do that?
And before you guys go out, oh, that's funny. It's doing the same weird thing for me. Before you guys go out, I'm going to give you some more, some details. So before even the drones do detection, I'm going to go over some RP real quick. As an action, spend 1 tech point to summon one of the following drones.
Oh, it only lasts 1 minute. I thought it would last longer. Oh, that's...
I've got the stupid nighttime thing on, so I couldn't read it. I was wondering what was going on.
Well, I will still deploy 1 recon drone and tell it to do a quick recon of the area.
I imagine that's like literally as you open up as you guys
Yeah.
are inside the airlock or whatever it is, you would open up the airlock a little bit, let a drone out, let it close again, and then give it that minute of collecting data, and then open it up again, and then each one of you would go out, right?
Yeah.
Or as you guys are walking out, like I said,
Yeah,
like Jake
that's-
said,
yeah,
he
yeah.
would step out first, and he would be
I
like
imagine
actively scanning with a gun, and the drone would also fly around
yeah, it's
simultaneously.
almost
Go ahead.
like it would be scanning so that we can hurry up and do the heat stuff as quick as
Yeah.
possible while it's going and like reconning for us, sort of thing. I think is
Yeah,
what you meant, right?
Yeah, basically taking over for Valivius to scan the area.
Yeah, cool. I can actually do something here, whereas
And I assume, I mean, recon drone has a shield, but I guess I could. I don't know if it can just be deactivated, which you would do.
I can actually. So I'll ping this. Where is it? I won't ping the whole. It's a wall of text. So I'm gonna ping this, and I'm choosing the recon thing, and I'm putting the recon area around where we're working. So it's essentially like a
Yeah, so like wherever it is that Jake's character is going to like post up with a sniper rifle and start scanning about and so on, you're gonna have that area be there. Cool.
yeah.
You
And
can
what
use
it does,
these-
so recon.
You-
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say you can do these infinitely, right? Like your tactical focus.
Yeah,
you can do-
it's straight
okay.
up like I can only have one out at a time essentially, and I can use my bonus action to move them or make change the focus. So recon. Any creature within the tactical force loses any benefit of being invisible, lightly obscured, or heavily obscured. Basically, we know if anything enters the area.
Not to delay further, but
No,
are we
you're
getting
not delaying.
readings of what the like atmosphere and stuff?
Remember how I said I
is-
wanted to have a little RP conversation before we go out? That's what
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
was.
Okay, cool.
Beautiful.
So, one of the things that would happen is you're like everybody suit up. Like I said, you already would have had your proper armor on, but you're not just going to be on the ship with a fucking gun with you, right? Like
That's
that's
true.
dangerous for a myriad of reasons, unless you are like active military police standing stationed somewhere, right? So you're not going to walk around with a bunch of guns. So, you would say everybody suit up, and like as people are going over and suiting up, you would notice, Jake, your character would notice that the only person that's not going and getting her weapons is Sifa. Like, because everybody goes over to their locker right next to like where the airlock is, and she's not there suiting up. But you know, kind of like a peek down because the place is small. Like a peek around the corner, you would see she's still sitting at her station and like clicking at the computer and whatever that's over there.
So yeah, I just say Sifa.
Yeah.
The atmosphere. What are we looking at?
Honestly, you should come take a look at this.
I'll walk over.
She comes over and she shows you the readings of the atmosphere. So were you talking about like ratings of air quality? All of us have like weather apps on our phone. Like you look at air quality, you're looking at how everything is, so on and so forth. It's all coming back clean. It's all coming back like clean. So she's like, do you see this?
I do. Can you bring up a comparison with the,
Last readings
what
from
the
before?
what it was? Yeah.
It's funny you jumped ahead of me. I was going to do that next. So she's like, yeah, good idea. Tick, 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 tick. And then literally throws it up and has it side by side, and then we'll like, layer it over each other. You can see. Their world was post-industrial age and on the mend from the various cleanups or whatever they were doing beforehand, but certainly not done cleaning up yet. You can see it is significantly better. She's like, but you have to understand, not only is it better than it was, here, let me just and like throws in. She's like, this is what it would have been projected when I was coming here. I was, surfing through it's not the HoloNet, what's it called? The internet. I was the extranet. I was surfing through the extranet to see, what other people's projections were of how it would be if just natural processes were done on the planet to get it to where it would be. And then she shows like the juxtaposition of the three different things. And where it was projected that the planet would naturally heal itself is so much closer to where the last readings were than where the readings are actually. She's like, this shows not just a sign of natural healing from the world, but an active effort towards mending of the atmosphere done in the interim.
Big
Why
question,
would
is
that
it-
have happened?
Is it only Nyx and Sci-Fi?
All of you guys can hear this.
Okay.
Or could have walked into the room and looked over and so on. Yeah.
Yes, okay. I mean, Bolivius being in the room, he would have said then they are healing the planet?
Why would they? They're synthetic. They don't need to heal the planet.
Well, evolution is a fun... like, Bolivius goes, like, takes a step further and looks at it and says, well, evolution is a funny thing. We all started as animals and we still have basic instincts. Why would it be different for machines?
They are not
But
people.
also,
They are robots with purpose. And she clicks a button like kind of hard. And when she does so, it pulls up the original data showing like, if you've ever seen like rules of probability, there's like, okay, this is the most likely based off of tens of thousands of scenarios. She says, it's just more likely that our original projections based off the initiatives we had put in place hundreds of years ago were inaccurate to the benefit of Ranak and our people. It looks as though we would have healed the planet faster than we thought with the initiatives, again, originally put in place. It certainly wouldn't have been the Geth.
so could this
Sci-Fi.
be caretaker, like a caretaker sub-program or something that is...
Did
I'm
you
out.
program to fulfill those commands?
I mean, that's part of the original initiatives put in place. But these wouldn't specifically be the Geth. These would be other machines that would have been designed at the time. Not every machine put in place was handed over to the being run by this one AI. There were many other VIs that handled different systems. And when I say other initiatives, that's what I'm referring to.
Well,
Sorry, that was just me setting my current. I forgot that I need to choose 3 out of all my options to have active, and I can swap one out at the long rest. But I have 3.
Olivius would sigh and say, I would like to have a deeper philosophical discussion with you right now about evolutionary paths and probability. But we have a job to do right now.
She stands up and says, true sapience coming from a synthetic form is still just a theory and has not actually been proven. I know people like to point to the Geth as an example of proof that it can and has happened, but once again, it is still theoretical. We don't know that the Geth aren't just working off of aggressive systems that they have put in place, that they're just working off of a combination of computer programs that interacted with each other in a strange way to overwrite to have new parameters we didn't otherwise expect, as opposed to individualism, actual sapience, and an understanding of oneself and worth.
I'm gonna give a nod to Nyx, just like we're on a timer sort of thing.
Yeah, I was literally about to say, well, that can all be discussed when we're back on the ship. For now, every second counts.
She nods, and I imagine this is when you would give the order of,
Yeah.
I'll take point, and she's just like, okay. And then you're like, beep, 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 beep. Actually, Corporal Novak, perhaps with the shields overall. So with that being said, I didn't hear the final word. Are you guys going to activate your shields or not? She makes her,
No.
that's why she was so
No.
riled up. She had no shields active.
Yeah.
No.
I imagine there's a moment where you say no shields active. The other three just kind of like hit that button to deactivate the shields that they had already like, because imagine when you first turn your shields, it takes like a warm up and then it goes on, then things run normally
Stop
from there.
the warm up sort of thing.
Yeah, they stop the warm up. Whereas Sci-Fi doesn't immediately stop the warm up. I imagine there's like one of those moments where Nyx kind of looks over and goes, "Do you hear my order?" And she'll be
Olivia's-
like,
Yeah.
Olivia's would turn and say, "If you get shot, I'll patch you up."
"Thanks." Okay, cool. So you guys will finally go over. You're finally at the spot where you're gonna go running into the planet and what have you. I'm gonna say like because I won't lie, drinking a lot of coffee to be awake here early in the morning. I'm gonna go pee super fast. I'm gonna say Sifa is going to either this is where she's getting her equipment on, or this is where she's still in the other room just finishing getting the data so that the systems are actively collecting the data that's needed during the period of time that you're here and putting it together to package for like when you leave. If you three want to have a quick RP super fast, I'll be back in like 2.5 minutes. Okay, be right back.
What are we up here about? Let's look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say
have
we
to
kind
exit
of
the ship.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
like-
kind of got to that point where we said everything.
Yeah, let me ask you this out of game. Are there any, aside from the Rachni, right? Which we don't know that they are actually to a degree sapient, right?
Yeah.
But are there any hive-minded species?
I don't think so. I think the Rachni are the only sapient one that we know of.
Do we know if the Rachni are sapient, or do we think they are just a scourge? at
The
this point?
Rachni were sapient. Oh, actually, I don't. I'm pretty sure they were sapient because that was the whole issue. Is they were literally like an
Yeah.
army that multiplied insanely fast.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, do we think they are tyrannids, or do we know if they are actually just evil? You know. So that's a good question. I will also take a moment to go to the toilet.
I'm gonna
But yeah.
have a quick squiz. See what
And
I
then
can
you
find.
can look it up in the meantime.
Oh, okay. So they were actually defending their territory is what caused this. They were intelligent and highly aggressive. Spacefaring Rachni. They were already spacefaring when we encountered them. So yes, they were sapient. As far as we
Yeah.
know. Oh, interesting. I didn't actually know this though.
Right.
Protheans found them and specifically bred them to be weapons of war.
Yeah, but we don't know that, right? So we
We don't know that, no. But
Yeah.
they were with your question. When we encountered them, they were already spacefaring, and they were intelligent and highly aggressive, was how it was described. So
Okay,
I believe they were sapient.
yeah, because just
From what we know, the Rachni, from what we would know now, whether we thought the Rachni were sapient or not, it's yes, because they were spacefaring. And
Yeah, they're
apparently-
multi-world, yeah. And
Yeah.
we know that the way the Rachni work, the queens are sapients. The
Yes.
drones are extensions of the queens.
limbs.
So,
basically,
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, now Scott is back, so I don't know if you want to have that RP. I was asking because if there is a known species with hive mind at the Sage, then that would be a base of another type of conversation that at least Valivius.
So
What
there's
happened?
a
feel
lot
like
of theories.
that's a ship conversation.
Yeah, we
Um,
can have
yeah,
that.
yeah,
to be
after
honest.
Yeah.
Let's-
Also, there's a lot of theories about how the Rachni work and so on and so forth that are proven during the Mass Effect series when you interact with the Queen. That the issue is that there was never proper interaction with the Queens before. They were seen
It was
as a
all
danger
super
and just
aggressive,
fought.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like fight and murder, no real conversations. Kind of like if you
Yeah,
ever
yeah,
watched
yeah.
Starship Troopers.
And
So
yeah, the other issue is like when the only way to stop a fight would be to kill the queen, which would then render all of them dead and not appropriate. They couldn't study them and know like whether this one died because it blah 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 or anything like that.
For you, Scott, was my point was if they like in the current time, if we see them as basically like the Zerg or Tyranids, or if we see them as like something that actually has a degree of sentience or something like that.
I imagine you probably see them more of being like the Zerg if you're talking about the Rachni. Because again,
Yeah.
like, there's theories, and so there's going to be, proposed studies and theories that would suggest that, but that wouldn't quite be on the fringe, but it wouldn't be accepted by the
I imagine there's-
scientific community as a whole.
Yeah,
So-
I imagine
Yeah,
there's
okay.
also like the boogeyman effect. Like this was the big bad that swept through space. Like,
Yeah.
there would definitely be a certain amount of like talking about them as monsters more than actual things that existed.
Especially where Krogan is around. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, the Rachni, I remember them.
I mean,
I,
it's not like the Taurians have a high opinion of Krogan opinions.
Oh, when it comes
Okay,
to
let's
battle.
get off the ship.
So anyways, you guys are there, and there's that moment where everybody goes into the airlock. Things are properly sanitized or whatever, and then the airlock opens up. And as soon as the airlock opens up, the first thing that's going to happen with because you haven't set up the pipes or anything yet, right? So the first thing that's going to happen as soon as the airlock opens up is you would have already seen cameras outside for where the initial like point you want to go to is. Imagine Jake's character steps forward. He has his sniper rifle in his hands. Everybody else probably has you have your drone controls, so you just have your hand out or whatever. I imagine Tesh's character has his AR or whatever it is inside of his
Yeah,
hands.
phased him.
And she would have she wouldn't have a weapon out either at the moment. She would also be similarly kind of like patched into what the ship is collecting for information and looking over that at the moment, right? But she's not really meant to leave the ship for a proper ground party when you guys leave. Okay. Anyway, so when the thing opens up, Jake's character kind of takes those first couple steps forward and stands on the ramp that would drop down to below, and has a sniper rifle in his hands and starts immediately looking about. As you're doing this, Tesh, your character is setting up a tactical focus right now for him, so everybody's HUDs kind of like get displayed going on. For her, it's different because like she's not been a part of your groups beforehand.
Yeah.
Whereas for them, they don't always work with people that are capable of doing this sort of a thing, but your character happens to. It's funny too, because I originally was thinking about your character was going to be the one that was in command because of these abilities of yours.
I remember that, but I kind of like the idea of being the support system.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
Well, Jake went veteran, so I was like, all right, well, unless he's
Yeah,
like
no, that works really
unless
well.
you're an officer, whereas he's just like a high ranking. Anyways, this is how Torian works. So anyway, you have this like HUD display going on of like more or less. As he does this thing, you can more or less see parameters of an area that has like additional protective features. You can see like anywhere that provides cover. You can almost see like on your HUD display. So as you look over and you see like, let's say a bit of boxes that happen to be over there, or like a small wall that's there, it actually displays on like a square grid on your HUD for you to see that it's there. And so let's say that the whole landscape is the normal colors with an overlayer of like a deep blue, very light in the opacity, but overlayered over it, you can see an area where there's like square grid boxes that kind of like show where that gives cover, and like an angle of where it gives you cover from, and so on and so forth. It gives you like all this additional like useful information for your character to have. So as he gets that kind of like set up, you take your little like drone, you pop it out of like whatever container you have on your side. You kind of like toss it up in the air, and like the thing kind of like comes online and immediately starts flying off. It gives off like a small hum, but nothing like the obnoxious sound that drones give off nowadays. I hate when I'm at a park and I hear drones around. Ugh, so annoying. Anyways, so you like start sending out your drones and start looking. And again, Jake, I imagine you quickly move up to your tactical focus area, Jake, and then take a knee and start looking around with your scope.
Yep.
Okay. So Tesh is keeping an eye on where you guys are moving up to. Anno is keeping an eye on the very short range to see what he can find in the immediate facility. And you're keeping an eye on the long range to see what can be discovered if anything is like on the horizon or far enough out. So really well designed. And she's more looking at what the ship is able to pick up. Like again, she's more analyzing the various building structures, what power grid might be functioning here, whatever that she can get off of the ship. Cool. So the first person to actually come off of the ramp is going to be Jake's character. So once everything's kind of set up and the drone starts moving and you get kind of like the immediate all clear from the two of them, you're going to make your quick like run down the ramp and go over to a spot that you think is safe and get your rifle out and start looking down scope. At this point in time, I want to have all three of your characters make me perception checks, looking at these different areas.
Will I also roll for the drone?
You're rolling for the drone, correct? Is that how it works, or does the drone roll for itself?
I mean, it has its own stats.
Oh,
So then maybe it
2.
rolls for itself. Okay.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if it
Joker.
works like Familiars did. So your VI focuses on the movement of. Oh no, that's right.
I was due for a shit roll anyway.
Where you drone. 1 tech point to one of the drones. When some of the drone has additional health points equal to twice your engineering level, whenever the drone makes a saving throw, damage or healing roll, add your proficiency bonus as well. When the drone attacks, apply your proficiency bonus as well. You have complete control over the drone. Any hacking attempts against the. So again, I guess it has its own perception.
Yeah, it uses its own stats aside from me protecting it from electronic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
And saving throws, I think. But yeah.
Oof. And my perception, like I guess I can also roll my own, which is not the best.
Yours is a much more narrow field of view than anything else people are looking at. So anyway,
It's about time we rolled some bad rolls.
So you guys are, and this is like a perfect opportunity. So you guys come down and everything looks all clear. Jake, you come rushing down and you're looking out with the scope. Jake, one of the things that you notice is you're looking out, you're checking the skyline, seeing if there's anything of importance here, seeing if you can see like, if there happens to be any just like hovercrafts around, any ships flying around, anything of notes that might happen to be inside the area. And with your 18 perception check, you do not currently notice anything of important significance or what have you that happens to be here. Looking out towards the direction of where the volcano is, where the facility is that you're hoping to look for, kind of like, actually, you're probably not even looking for that yet. So looking around, like where the city is, you see no drones in the sky. You see nothing that triggers any alarms. The same goes true for the other two of you as well. There's nothing there either. So after Jake goes down, you say clear to him. He goes down, rushes down, takes a knee, starts looking around, and everybody says clear, clear, clear. Jake will give the command for the other people to finally come down as well. So, each one of you one at a time, come down the ramp, go over to the protected area, and hold up a spot. She's been distracted on her Omni tool the whole entire time until finally she gets down to where you guys are. And that's where she stops and she starts like looking around and she's just like, wow. This is... Wow.
I mean, if Olivius would look back, he would say, like, overcomes. Sci-Fi, I know what it probably means for you, but you need to focus.
You say the words, but then you notice she kind of like stops and reaches up and does the whole like and removes the mask from her helmet.
Oh, at this point, Valivius would actually look back because first never saw the face
Yeah.
of a Quarian, and second because
That's
is she gonna have like a shock or something?
This is weird because I imagine every
I
one of
better know
us
what's gonna happen.
go like and look. Like I've got my scope and I hear what's going on. I turn around and look.
This is why we rolled so shit. We're just like, what the fuck?
Why don't you guys go ahead and roll for hot in chat? Why don't we let Xylamos just showed up, so Xylamos, you want to roll for hot?
I
don't know if you remember how to do that.
I remember what effects this will have on her based on the games. It's not good. It's not terrible, but it's not good.
Well,
if it was any other, if it was any other planet, it would have been like this is death, but this is like still not good.
Yeah, I mean that's the medical perspective of Olivia's like, okay, this is her home planet, but that doesn't
This is still real bad.
This doesn't rebuild your what's called your health. I'm missing the words right now, but your health.
Do we have roll for hot set up on this channel?
I believe
it
so.
is. It's actually, this is the channel where it's on. Yeah, they just spelled hot wrong. They just hot like ouch, not hot like ooh.
Oh, there we go.
So you know,
average.
Yeah. So you look over here, everyone is like, huh. As
Yeah.
opposed to ooh or ugh.
Well, the thing is, like, I have medicine as well, so I would also like it would be almost like realization, look to oh god, I keep forgetting everyone's names. Look to Valavius, like just that look of like, oh shit.
Yeah, probably as she's doing it, Valavius would. I mean, probably the curiosity makes him react too late, but like says, don't remove your mask.
She stops and she takes like a deep breath of air.
Oh fuck. And I would just turn around and continue with what I was doing because I have to get it done as fast as possible.
Yeah,
so.
Valavius as well. This is a problem for another time.
You know.
And she says, Captain, I'm home.
Yes, you are, Sci-Fi.
Valavius would interject and say, your exposure to this air doesn't make you healthy. If you don't put your mask back on, you're going to be not only the first Quarian who set foot on this planet for a very long time, but also the first one to die again here.
She looks at you and says, you think I don't know the risks? But think about it. Think about what my people have been through. It was worth it. And she puts the mask, back on. You can imagine like one hand just kind of like,
Well, at least
the
it's
whole thing
back on
connects
now.
back again.
Yeah. Valavius would say, I deeply respect your decision still as a medical professional.
Do we have any equipment for like collecting soil samples, water samples, things like that?
That's what she's here for.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go
start doing that.
Yeah,
she's a scientist, if you will, with an understanding of engineering to a degree.
We're her escort.
Yeah. But she's no soldier by any stretch. But either way, so you guys are what's the word I'm looking for? So I want everybody to go ahead and roll, not pertaining because we're about to go into action and narrate in a second, but go ahead and roll me perception checks, each one of you, for an entirely different reason, just normal rolls. And while you're rolling, so because you guys checked and saw everything that was clear, you immediately are going to get into action. Now, some of you are going to have to work together to get those pipes set up like we discussed beforehand, to turn like the sewers, the sewer vents or whatever into effectively a heat sink like Tesh and Nora were talking about. Is anybody going to be specifically standing guard for the 20-30 minutes it's going to take to properly set this up, utilizing the various equipment that's here to do so, and or is everybody working together to make it go quicker, or how is this going?
I'd be standing guard. That's my skill set. It's my job.
I would definitely be helping doing it because I do have engineering skills. not obviously as much as our engineer, but I'm skilled enough to know what to do, how to do it carefully.
Also, to be clear, Scott, the first perception check was me, so the 12, and the 19 is for my drone, which only lasts for a minute. So.
Oh, I actually, the drone wouldn't have mattered, so it was only you, the 12. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Valevius's task is quite clear, so he wouldn't be able to stand guard.
Okay. So, Jake, did you say that you are standing guard while they move, or are you moving with them?
No, I'm standing guard.
Okay, so your guard, they're getting the job done, and she's going to have to be with them, assisting as well. So with the perception checks you guys have there, nobody picks anything up. That's fine. So you guys are going about and setting up this thing as needed. Jake, I'm going to have you now back to what we're doing as opposed to what you were all rolling for beforehand. You're making entirely now related to the situation at hand. A perception check for me for your standing guard. Okay. So you go ahead and roll that while you're doing that. And I imagine this isn't just standing there. I imagine this is actually also moving about, pacing, checking corners, walking perimeter, but not going too far, of course, from your group because you need to be able to all see and whatnot each other. But don't forget, you have comms. Yep. And your comms work a myriad of ways. If you want your comms, I think I told this to you beforehand last session. If you're within 100 meters of each other, your comms work absolutely no problem whatsoever with their encrypted direct connection to each other. Other people can't pick them up. It's when you go beyond that, things start to get a little bit wonky. And certainly you can't do like interplanetary comms because that requires satellite use and blah, 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 blah. All right, cool. So,
another perception check, was that? That
was from you. The other three of them are going to start grabbing those pipes, setting it up, getting everything set up to do what it needs to do. Occasionally she looks down. Occasionally you guys will tap into the VI, suggesting how it is that this is going to work because she didn't design this fucking ship and neither did you guys as well. But the VI has an understanding of how this kind of stuff works for you. And so you're going to get everything set up to the best of your ability. There is also the idea if you guys can insulate the outside of these metal containers, but at the same time, like, who cares? It's not like, yeah, it's gonna be hot as fuck, but it's also just a tiny piping area before it goes on. Would you want to try to find a secondary heat shield to the pipes as they dump into your heat sink? Or is that wasting time for extra steps that may not matter?
I think my vote would be that that's extra time. I think getting it out off the ship and underground as fast as possible is what we need.
Depends. I mean, how much time do we reckon we have before the build-up exceeds the capability of the ship?
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I would say it's hard to say because like traveling through space is fucking slow, but at the same time, you don't want it to be long periods. So I won't lie, I didn't fully engineer out like how this works. You can imagine like every 30 minutes or so that passes. Every 30 minutes or so that passes, it builds up another point on its own. Once you get to like that yellow out of the green, yellow, red range, once you get to the yellow range, every 30 minutes or so, once you get to the red range, it's probably closer to say like every 15 minutes or so.
And we're in the red range. So.
Yeah.
So the question in this case is, would we have enough time for additional security measures? Because, foresight is always better than hindsight.
So yeah, good question. So it'll be a roll that you guys make, but it is very likely you have enough time.
Okay,
then let's do that.
Cool. Novik would defer to you. This is your expertise, not mine. So absolutely.
So doing like some mental calculations with what he has and whatnot, and probably with Sifa's help, he would indeed like get to work and like make it as invisible as possible to be able to dump the heat.
Yeah, so this is literally going to be an engineering check for you.
Cool. Let me double check something real quick.
Yep. Jake, while you're walking those perimeters, while he's double checking, while you're walking the perimeters, looking around, seeing what you can find, this place seems like a ghost town. I mean, when Sifa was talking about how well maintained everything is, yes, that's true for the sake of hundreds of years have passed, and this place does not look like hundreds of years of decay have passed. But it's not like it's exactly as they left it, like some sort of creepy thing inside of a horror movie, right? It still looks like it's been abandoned for years.
Can I
And
assist
whatnot.
on the roll?
No, this was with assistance.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. This was with everybody's assistance to make this work out. Yeah. I factored that in for it being a normal roll. So with the 14 engineering, yeah, you guys are able to get those pipes set up that you needed to do, but also you're able to move over some other bits of equipment that would have been put there. You can imagine, those pipes come in all different types of sizes. You can imagine you got like the significantly larger, almost like plasteel style. I forget what it's called in this world, but almost like that plasteel type of piping that you would see when you go by construction sites. That's where they'll run like wires and whatnot through there, or as like a extra layer of protection from XYZ, from like storm water runoff going by. So you have this larger kind of thing that you're putting around that as well, and almost like we're going to use one of your doses of Omnigel from any one of you, I don't care which one it is, to properly seal that up to make sure that any like heat that's emitting off of the pipes that are using to actually funnel the heat down, that's of course going to have heat emitting off of it. This is to kind of keep that as contained as possible so it doesn't just like glow from any sensors that might be nearby. You do a really good job. I mean, the whole thing overall takes you about 35, 40 minutes or so, but you do a good job. You start the procedure and you can see that the eeping of heat starts to happen. This is not a slow thing to do. So, sorry, not a fast thing to do. This is a slow thing to do. So this gives you time to start making your way, searching about. Once you get the thing to start up, going on, I want all three of you guys to go ahead and make an insight check for me. But once you get this thing get up and going on, this is going to be where you make the decision. Do you want to search around the town at all, or do you want to immediately head towards that facility in question?
Do you mean
Insight?
insight or investigation?
Nope, insight.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
Jake got it. Okay. So Novak, so it's probably because your character's so ingrained into what you're doing, you're kind of like leading point on what you were doing beforehand, Donald. You don't really notice it. But as you're finishing up, your character is literally checking like all the sealed areas, more or less because he used the Omnigel, so he's the one that did the work. And he's probably like, fixing whatever he needs to on his Omni tool at the moment while you double check the work, so you don't notice anything. Silas, you've noticed at this point in time that Sifa's been kind of keeping her distance from you guys as you were working. It's like one of those like, why is she being so weird? Like she's kind of like kept her back to you, keeping her distance, but has been still helping out. She's constantly checking her Omni tool, whatever. Jake, you're the one that's like, nah, something's fucking wrong. And then at one point in time, you can see like just the way that she's moved and whatnot. You're like, oh shit. Like you've been with Quarians before, on other missions that you've done. I've been around and seen some shit. She is absolutely dealing with a system. She is definitely fighting something off. She's having some sort of allergic reaction, and she's trying to keep it under wraps. Without even looking at her Omni tool to see the scan, you fucking know it.
Yeah. So over radio, I say, Valavius, I think you need to check on Sifa.
Yeah.
Seems like it's come on quicker than we thought.
Valavius would groan, like looking
Do you
back
have a medical kit? Because I do.
I don't.
Yeah, because you're like a drone medic, not like a medic, right?
So
Yeah.
I can probably I can help out with this, and he'll detach from the round the back where he's got all these like stuff hooked in. Just I've never done this on the Quarian though. This is gonna be.
You should go back on the ship probably.
Good point. Siva, come on.
Oh, you both have a 4, so cool.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, I actually have the kit proficiency as well, so.
she says, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm fine. We can.
Oh yeah, you're totally. Come on.
Could have done that before we fucking left, Sifa.
She obviously emotions aren't the same in Quarian as they are for most other races like Quarians and whatnot. But she says, I don't regret anything. And she starts going in, and As you guys go into the airlock, is it specifically just who's going in the airlock with her? Is it Tesh or is it Ano?
I mean,
believe
either of us
doesn't-
can, but sorry.
Yeah, I don't like if we have the facilities on the ship. I don't think your medical kit.
Yeah, no. In that
matters.
case, you can.
So
probably
and
go
I
on.
had studied. I don't know if it gives me
You
advantage.
did. You're
but
right.
So I probably would take care of it, and I would overcome. Say, the two of you should continue. We don't have time to waste while I deal with the patient.
He'll give you a nod as you're like walking her off. See anything, Cap?
You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
No, everything's quiet. No
Well, that's a good
movement.
sign at least.
Too quiet.
Nothing.
What he'll do, what Novik will do is that he'll actually start moving, like every couple seconds, 6 seconds. every couple seconds, he'll move the zone to like areas that are particularly obscured within 24 meters. Like he would be moving around to sort of like check around corners, basically using it instead of having to go and like, what's in here? He would move it to that area, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And just sort of have a bit around with that.
So, obviously the plan is to go up towards the mountain to the facility that's over that way, but because now you have to wait for Ano's character to return, did you want to start, because he was suggesting you go ahead without him. Did you want to start that walk secure that it's safe and then he can jog to catch up to you afterwards? Or did you want to stay closer by and examine this town a little bit while you're waiting for him to come back out of the ship and then head towards the facility together?
I think wait. Kind of
Yeah.
check out the town a little bit, but we
Secure
don't
the
want to go
area.
too far.
Okay, cool.
Because
Then I'll get back to you.
if we need to go, you know what I mean? It's better than we're all together than split.
Yeah.
Cool. So then I'll get back to you guys in a second. So when you go into the airlock and you get shut it and doing the whole decontamination bit, you can kind of like, grab her arm and look at the Omni tool or, yours to get this, the readings off hers. You can see her O2 levels are low. So she's clearly having some sort of like anaphylactic reaction. You can see that her fever immediately has jumped up really high. So her like talking funny is because obviously she's got like, cold, the shivers or whatever it is. You can see like she's definitely having a reaction. As to what the hell is causing that reaction and so on, you can see that samples have been taken already by her suit itself. It already has taken a prick of her blood and has started to analyze and see what it is. And fortunately for you, her suit has old medical information on there from like fucking forever ago about different types of viruses or whatever that might happen to exist. But in this scenario, though, it's not even viruses. It's literally just contaminants in the air. We're talking like pollen and shit that her body has just over the amount of time in their hyper sterilized situations and how they've had to somewhat genetically engineer their changes to be able to survive in their hyper sterilized
It's the mother of
ships.
all hay fever.
yeah. So more or less, it's one of those things where you're like, if you do not take appropriate medical action, she could absolutely go into like an anaphylactic shock and die from this. Fortunately, the likelihood of making her survive is pretty high. It's just you have to more or less make her useless. You're both going to want to hit her with something to like effective like a adrenaline shot sort of a thing. What's it called? Effective like an epinephrine. Yeah, like an epinephrine shot, but at the same time, her body needs to heal, so you also have to give her like a sedative too. So she's effectively useless. So
yeah, I was about to say anyway, like, should I sedate her before she does anything else dumb? But
So-
yeah, that
yes, I have full authority to do so. So why don't you go ahead and roll me your medicine with advantage because you had done that previous research that we discussed beforehand. And feel free to RP with her at any amount if you want to.
okay. Yeah, so I assume, does she willingly go to the medical facility?
Yeah.
Or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She's a Quarian. This is once she's been removed from enjoying the beauty of her planet, she's back inside of a cold ship. Yeah, the reality, the gravity of the situation comes crashing down. So
Yeah, so while leading her there, and like starting the procedure to heal her, Valevis would just say, I'm sorry you having to deal with this. I can only imagine the feelings that you're having right now, but biology was not kind to you, and as such, you will have to take some rest. You probably will awake again when we will be about to leave, and I'm sorry for that, but it's necessary.
She nods. She says, it was dumb, but... And she looks back at you again. I regret nothing.
Well, you will have time to regret it later, hopefully. And
Small chuckle.
Valeris would say, would you like... I'm going out after I medicate you. Would you like that I get you something?
She nods. She'll like show real quick on like grab like a pad nearby and like show real quick an image of a flower and say like more or less like say the name of my flower of a flower and say this is what my little sister was named after. She unfortunately had a malfunction in her suit and died a few years ago as it didn't properly... Well, you get the idea. If you can get one of these for me so I could have something to remember my sister by.
I'll get you a whole flower bed if I can.
And she's thankful. And I think as is chat, realizing that while Anno's character is a cock as a member of the party, he's got a really good bedside manner. He's a good doctor. Good doctor. You are not House.
Well, while you were treating her, you would have got a radio transmission though that said, find out if she managed to get all the samples she needs, or do we have to do that now as well?
Oh, you would get kind of like the samples that you guys were hoping to get, like everything that she needed, she was able to get from the ship. But if you grab additional bits of like say soil and so on and so forth. Anything that you just scoop up into a container. I mean, think about what we do at fucking moon dust and stuff like that, right? Like any amount that you can collect can be helpful.
Yeah,
and your characters don't even need to roll for that. You'll just be able to automatically succeed as you're traveling. So,
Valerius would say, we have everything we need already saved on the ship. She did a good job at scanning, but while we make our way, I will try to take as many samples as possible from the soil, vegetation, whatever we can get. I think a lot of people are gonna be happy, especially Quarians, I assume, with what we will get here.
Sounds good.
Cool.
And hopefully no other Quarian will be foolhardy enough to enjoy the planet before the time is right.
So while he's in there doing this thing and doing his medicine check and so on, you boys back there are going to start doing your proper investigation of the town, and this goes to what Anna was suggesting beforehand. This is where you'll either if you're standing guard and being the one that's hanging back and keeping an eye, you're going to roll a perception. If you're actively searching throughout the town trying to find any important details or what have you, this is going to be an investigation. I assume both of you guys are doing investigation, but I could be mistaken on that one.
I will 100% do investigation.
I will.
Not you.
definitely
You're on
not.
the ship.
Oh, that's what. Oh, sorry.
That's the issue. Is we're both perception characters and not investigation characters.
May the dice be favorable.
Yeah.
It's up to you. What do you want to do? Or Jake, if you're both suck at one and good at the other one, what do you suggest, or so on?
I mean, I got a +1 for perception and a flat on investigation. So
I've got a
what are you better
+4
at,
to
Tesh?
perception. So I guess
Roll
I'll
perception, man. I'll do
I'll
the
do
flat
perception, you do
investigation.
your
So
investigation,
your character's
yeah.
walking around. I imagine you put your sniper rifle away, pull out your assault rifle, and you start walking around
Yeah.
checking things out while he's got his, I assume, assault rifle, Tesh. And
Yeah, the Phaeston.
he's hanging back and keeping an eye with you. I just want to look at your recon or whatever it is ability and see how that helps out. Oh, Jake rolling shit.
Boop.
Oh, you popped it again? Okay, cool. So
Yep.
your VI focuses
I
movement on dust.
selected the 3 that I have active at the moment.
Pin down when a hostile creature attempts to heads up if an allied creature.
No,
in your tactical
only one of
focus-
these is active at a time, so it's recon at the moment. I can choose from any of the three, but I can only have 3 learnt, and I can change them in a long rest. I can have one of these active at a time, so I've got recon at the moment.
Those are awesome combat-based abilities. I didn't know if there was anything in there specifically for perception or investigation
No.
abilities. So it looks like
It's
no.
all very much combat. I can the only stuff that is
makes
like
sense.
investigation is if I'm actually dealing with an individual. I have an analyze that allows me to analyze that individual and look at their strengths and weaknesses and stuff.
Yep, which makes sense. Okay, cool. So you're keeping an eye out to make sure that everything's fine. And once again, nothing seems wrong here. There are no geth that you can see around as you're investigating the area, looking, walking through the different, a couple of the different streets in the town. It's one of those. You slowly make your way up to the end of a street. You stop at the corner. You roll out the corner gently. Look and see anything that might be around. Check all your different areas. Then Tesha's character will come up behind you. He takes to the corner. You start moving out to the next spot. You guys aren't going into any buildings or anything like that yet, but you are walking throughout the town, looking through windows that might be there, et cetera, et cetera.
So
When you talk-
what I think I would be using the recon for would literally be for like placing it on windows and doors that I can't see through. Like if something is you know how it's really hard to see through windows when you're outside in the light. It'd be that case of that would be a good place to hide. Just chuck the recon up on there. No, we're good. Move on, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I would say is that, again, point of fact, like I said, it doesn't look like hundreds of years of desertion. It looks like just years of desertion. So some of the windows are, because the windows aren't made out of proper glass. Because again, future society.
It's like yeah.
It's almost imagine like a transparent plastic that can
I think
also
it literally
act as like,
is I think it's actually a transparent metal. I think in Mass Effect, isn't it?
not for regular buildings, right? That'd be too expensive.
Okay,
That's for
yeah.
ships.
That's
yeah,
a good
yeah.
point. Yeah.
So it's like a transparent plastic that would have had not every building, but depending on where it is and how it's designed, that probably would have like solar panels built into it. Like I can't remember what they're called, but like the different types of modern day solar cells that are literally in laboratories functioning, but we can't scale up to industrial
Yeah,
use
they've
yet.
actually made it like it's a window that is a solar panel at the same time, sort of thing.
Yeah, in China, they've actually made buildings, test buildings that those work, but there's a newer type too that it doesn't really matter. So, it's like you can imagine because it's made out of this like plastic. None of the windows are broken, but they're definitely scuffed as fuck. Like if a storm blew by here and there was debris, it absolutely would scratch the hell out of the outside, making it so they're very opaque and hard to see through with a combination of the micro scratches and the amount of dust and whatnot that would kind of like settle into it and whatever. So it gives us like you would literally have to do the like rub your arm on it sort of a thing to look through. But I imagine your character's not even necessarily doing that. He's just trying to allow his HUD display to collect additional information from the inside to make it so it's easier. So like, I imagine you go up to a window and you're like, damn, I can't see through these things. And he's like, hold up. And he like does this like thing. And all of a sudden you can see again, the grid almost seems to open and give you a gridded view of the inside.
It's like if you ever see in games the wireframe environment. It's like you see that on
Exactly
the
that.
inside, sort of thing.
Exactly that. But that means that there are a lot of details that you would miss. It's like you wouldn't
Of course,
necessarily.
yeah. It's the main purpose of this is to look for threats, so it wouldn't be like you wouldn't get the details on. And you could see a box, you'd have no idea whether that box was wood, metal, plastic, what was written on it, or anything like that. You just know there was a box
inside of
there.
it or anything like that. Exactly, all
Yeah.
that. Yep. So looking around, you find no immediate threats. This place looks properly abandoned, like left a long time ago. There's no skeletons on the ground. There's no litter, this, that, the other thing. There's nothing like that. It's just properly abandoned.
Out of curiosity, is there any life, like insects, small animals, or anything like that?
Yes, 100%, absolutely. There
Okay,
is organic
cool.
life here, just like I mentioned, plants and viruses and whatnot before.
Just making sure.
Yep, there is fauna that exists here as well. Yes, sir.
Small, because I read about the planet before, there are actually no insects on this planet.
Really?
Hmm.
Wait, I know that there are a number of microbiology is relatively small, so they already had weak immune systems to start with before they went into.
Basically, pollen and whatnot are only carried by animals, which is why
Oh, okay.
Quarians have such a weak immune system.
That's cool. That's good to know, and that actually makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I knew that there was a reduced amount of all those. They more or less somebody read War of the Worlds and was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like I think the biggest creature is like a bighorn that like has a like belly full of pollen that carries it around, like or something like that.
That's kind of cool. The idea that like animals adapted to do it because there weren't bugs to do it, sort of thing.
And you can imagine still things like wind and whatnot, depending on how it
Of
is,
course, yeah.
flora evolved. So anyways, or self-pollinating plants, there's those the asexual / incestual relations that plants like to participate in. So, but the you guys are able to kind of like look around, and the area looks secure. You find 0 dangers here. By the time you can keep investigating if you want, but by the time that Anno's character kind of like gives you word over comms, heading back out, and you guys are making your way back to the ship. Again, you could choose to stop and investigate further and make him join you over in town, or you can meet with him back at the ship and start heading up from there. It's up to you. Imagine pollen's bigger.
Maybe we probably want to start heading towards that station, get what we can, get out of here quick.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing to do. We want to be as quick as possible. So
the town is, as far as we can tell, deserted, so we don't have to worry too much. And the VI can alert us should something appear.
Yeah. Do we
wait,
like how far is the monitoring station or whatever from the ship?
Yeah, so I was just about to say, so the trek up there, there's a couple ways that you can go about this. One, wait till the ship is completely done and fly over. That's probably the dumbest way. It's the easiest way to be spotted. 2, grab an old motor vehicle that might happen to be inside the area, get it functioning, and go up there. Well, that's far less likely to be detected than something like your ship. It would probably be about as detectable as you guys walking around with your shields on, right? Because it is going to emit X, Y, and Z. So that is an option for getting there quicker and saving of energy. But when it comes to doing it on foot, I mean, unfortunately, it's about a 2-hour walk to go out there, and it's going to be predominantly uphill. So it's not overly exhausting.
At that point, would it not be beneficial for us to just either, one, take the car if we can, or just instead of going to the monitoring stations, just check out the city?
That's up to you. If your concern is, God forbid, something goes sideways, how the fuck are we going to get out of here in time? Don't forget your VI has full ability to fly itself. The VI can do all 5 of your ship systems.
True,
It's just only good with navigation is what its focus is. It has a +2. I think it has a +2 with all the other
so the
ship
ship
systems.
could get to us pretty quickly should shit hit the fan while we're up there.
We're talking like a minute or 2. It's really fast. Ships go insanely fast.
Is there like an electric bike we could?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's motor vehicles here that you could absolutely
No.
like a Humvee.
No,
An
I
electric
mean like
bike would still have the issue of the issue with the vehicle is the emitting like a field of electricity is the issue. Like any vehicle that is powered by something.
Just a normal bike then.
Also moving all uphill. Woof, you got some quads.
Listen, Turians.
Yeah, that's right. You get those legs, right? That actually might be easier for you.
I'm used to heavier gravity, so.
Yeah, don't worry. We're going to touch on that eventually. I wasn't sure what you guys were doing in the town. I thought I was going to get to play with that already. I was like, you going to jump on a building? Anyways, so you could use a bike. It's just the fact that it's moving faster means it could be detected. And like he just said, the electromagnetic field that it would emit. So it's up to you, boys. What do you want to do?
I think we use a vehicle. We could probably turn on our shields then because we're already having the field emitted. I imagine having our shields on is not going to be make that more so. Does that make sense, Scott? Does that make sense?
I didn't quite follow something about
If
the
we're
bike and the
already
shields.
using a vehicle, that's already the issue with an emission of some kind. We can probably turn our shields on then and not have that be a much greater.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be
They
a
wouldn't.
stronger?
They wouldn't necessarily neutralize each other. They could be just two different ways of
not
detecting you.
neutralize, but what I mean is like it's not going to increase the chances drastically.
Yeah, you're
versus
saying
us
if
walking.
this goes to 3 and this goes to 3, it's just 2 3s. That doesn't necessarily. But those 2 3s together might equal a 4. Why don't I actually have you guys go ahead and roll a
Okay.
science check for me to come to that conclusion?
By the way, with bike, I meent bicycle in case there's like language
is there
barriers.
science? Oh, there is. Okay. Can I use engineering?
I would say for this one, it's more of a science.
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna roll that.
Oh, sorry, that was with advantage. Should I reroll?
Yeah, reroll.
12's not too bad. I'll take a 12.
Wow. Okay.
12.
That was weird.
7 is the lucky number, I guess.
12, 12, 12.
So you
I kind of want to roll to see if I get a 12, but
go ahead.
Yeah. Do it.
where are we?
Your character's not an idiot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we can say that you've been in a scenario like this beforehand, and you can be like, "Oh
Some
yeah,
experience.
that reminds me of XYZ that happened beforehand." You're right. They would not necessarily multiply or add off of each other. Once one of them is emitting a large enough kind of like electromagnetic field, so on and so forth, absolutely your shields, if you want to turn those on for additional protection while you're moving, that will not be worse. However, moving quicker with the vehicle would trigger potentially other sensors. So, but you're hoping that there's nothing really watching around here anyways, right? That's the whole point of
So-
going to a remote location. Yes, sir.
So you said that like the heat starts to build up once it is in the yellow area, right?
And
So
it's
that
dropping
means
down
that
now.
yeah. So if the ship is in the green area, could it keep continuously cloaked while landed?
No. I was saying 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I just was wondering. So and I mean, how much time does the ship need to vent? How much time?
So I said it was a kind of a longer process. So probably
Yeah.
because you're trying to do it in a way that's not super obvious. A few hours.
So
I
I
mean,
mean, if we
The
if
ship
we
can
go-
legit completely vent itself in its entirety in like 30 minutes to an hour, but that's like super obvious. It's like
That's like all the
standing in
vents
an
are, like,
elevator and
spewing
just
heat.
ripping ass. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you just see all manholes just fly off with the heat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if we have to wait for that anyway, I don't see why we should.
Walking probably will be fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
To
Bit of it.
lower the risks.
yeah.
It can come
Oh,
get us
we're walking.
should shit hit the fan.
Cool. So if you guys walk in about the 2-hour hike to get there, to go all the way up there, which is wonderful. I want from Jake and Ano a Constitution save. DC is simple; it's just an 8 for the long walk. Tesh, this is an easy walk for you. You're good to go.
Isn't this
Yeah.
lower?
0.9,
Yeah, it's-
so normal for most people. Tesh's character is used to 1.5.
Yeah, I'm used to very heavy gravity.
Okay. Yeah, I think mine is usually 1. So yeah.
There are other things where Tesh would have disadvantage and whatnot on because he's like,
Oh.
this is so unusual for me.
Yeah, like it'd be a thing with the movement. I'm gonna have to get used to. Where in terms of like stamina and fitness, I would be much higher than normal on this planet versus another one. But as I said, my balance would be off.
Jake, you want to luck it? Just
We can't.
yeah. It's like, can I next session? No. So when you guys finally are making this walk up here, one of the other final things I want. So Jake, you're just gonna put one spot of exhaustion on your character, something that can be gotten rid of by taking a short rest. I think technically in 5e you might be able to get rid of one after 10 minutes of resting. If Tesh, if you don't mind looking that up super fast.
I
Um,
don't think so.
I don't
but I'll
know
check.
where that.
Short rest
that
definitely
is.
does, but
Yeah, sure.
exhaustion. Oh, okay. So on your character sheet in the top right hand corner, press the settings cog because you probably don't have it set up that way. When you click the settings cog, next to spells, on the right hand side there should be an exhaustion tracker. It's the second to last one in general options in the right hand column.
Oh yeah.
Click that to on.
Show exhaustion tracker. Yep.
And then when you click that to on, if you go back to your regular main page or core page, whatever they call it, where is it now?
Yeah, where is it?
Hold on. It looks moved from where it used to be, or maybe this sheet doesn't have it. Hold on.
It would
Show
normally be like
indoctrination.
under the stats, right? The
It's usually
the
underneath your
skills.
health points, but maybe
Oh, is
because
it?
they added the barriers and shields and whatnot,
It might not tick on. Yeah.
they maybe had to fuck with the sheet enough that gets rid of. That's weird. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me just close that sheet and reopen it.
What is
Okay.
what is indoctrination tracking? Hello.
What? Huh? What?
Oh, holy shit!
That's weird.
It makes
It's not
sense
there.
for this system, but that's terrifying. It's disadvantage on ability.
Oh, okay.
checks
If you
is
turn
what
on
it is.
indoctrination tracking, it puts both of them on, and it's beneath HD and death saves. So turn on both indoctrination and exhaustion tracking, you'll see it. If you click up
Oh,
to
it does.
one,
Yeah, that's weird.
yeah. So it shows you a disadvantage on ability checks. It probably because the display none versus display shown is probably linked to one of the two is the bad written code. That's all.
Oh my! Indoctrination it affects your sleep. Oh, it's the ME3 dreams all over again.
I still can't see it. Can you have a look at my sheet at all?
Man, the person who
Yeah.
made this was a fan of the indoctrination theory. That means.
Death by becoming a thrall is 6 steps of indoctrination. That's hilarious. All right, so hold on. Let me open up your sheet. Brutus Nix. Character sheet. You turn. It's on. It's right there. You see where your attacks are? Right above your attacks.
So it's a long
yeah, I see now.
rest.
Yeah.
Scott is exhaustion, not short.
Yeah. But it could be it could be situational
We-
based off of like
we
whatever
also
called it,
have
but-
like medicine stuff that I imagine we can help with because more
Yep.
advanced.
it's also just a 2-hour hike. So I would say, if your character posts up for a little bit, you'd be fine. It's nothing. You're doing a 2-hour hike just with a whole bunch of heavy shit on you. And let's be honest, your character's probably like, I'm getting too old for this shit. So
Yeah, Valevius would 100% do like equip like, sir, do we need a physical evaluation after this mission?
Novik would giggle at that. Just
Didn't know you'd quite taken to me that way.
Well, I found newfound respect seeing all those tutorials, sir.
Beautiful.
it's funny too because you didn't even do it. It's like a bluff. But anyways, so you
fantastic.
So anyways, you are able to while you guys are making your way up there, obviously you're on guard the entire walk. So roll me one final perception check for that walk, that trek all the way up to
So
the facility itself.
can I roll with disadvantage
Oh
because
fuck!
Yeah.
it's disadvantage because Valevius would also on the way take care of first primarily find that flower, and secondly also take samples of like the wood of the trees or like generally samples of everything he can get. So yeah.
Yeah, so in that scenario, I will allow you to roll disadvantage on your perception for your sample taking. It's a simple thing to do, but that's a science roll. And actually, no, I think I said you don't have to roll for that unless there's something specific you were looking for that was more complicated.
Yeah.
I
And for
mean,
the other one,
I
it's a
don't-
nature roll, a normal
Yeah.
nature roll.
Nature isn't my strong. Could it be also survival? I don't know.
No,
Uh,
do we
nature.
have?
Cool.
Do we have
does-
nature?
Yeah, we don't have nature.
We don't have.
Oh,
nature.
it's trying to do science. I guess it's survival
Yep.
or science, right? Biology.
I
Hey, boom, you got it. Cool.
Nice.
So, yep, you are actually able to find those flowers that was in question. That's there. What the flowers look like, smell and how the pollen is spread. That stuff doesn't matter. But you're absolutely able to find the flowers, and you're able to collect some for the other group. As for perception checks, as you guys are moving along, Jake, you actually do notice something when you're about a quarter of the way, maybe about half the way up the walk. You stop and you bust out your sniper rifle. It's maybe one of those spots where everybody just has to stop for a second, just because you're walking up a steep incline, going up a mountain to a volcano. You stop, you get the scope out, and you're like looking around, or maybe detach the scope and looking around or whatever is around you, and you look back at the town to the ship to make sure everything's over there's okay. And yep, the ship's okay. Everything's fine. Remember how you were doing those perception checks and investigation checks, and they weren't that good, or at least that investigation when you were in the town? On the roofs of some of the buildings in the town, you see there's docking ports filled with drones. I mean, you're only counting about a dozen drones there that you can see from where you are, but that means apparently the Geth do have a presence in that small town. It's just drones attached to a docking port, seemingly powered down, sleeper mode, disabled, turned off, whatever they are. So, if
we make any sort of attention, it'll go bad real fast.
Yeah, there will be drones swarming around that town that are able to fight. Now, what kind of drones they are, you're neither knowledgeable enough in Geth technology, nor able to get a strong enough sight as to what they look like to be able to ascertain if there's like rocket drones or turret drones or investigation drones, sort of a thing, right?
Wow. Sure would be great if we had a Quarian right now.
Oh, it would be, yeah, absolutely. But she's sleepy nap. So
cough.
I'm
kind of a drone specialist myself. So,
but again, he doesn't have enough sight on the situation to be able to give you enough information to work with. So, either way, halfway up the mountain, you're able to look back and see that. And you're like, okay, well, let's just not trigger anything and we'll be fine. And that's what, other than that though, once again, everything seems clear. There's no flying drones or anything in the area. Everything seems to be fine. I mean, you do see the occasional fauna moving about, but nothing particularly noteworthy. You're just making your way up another terrestrial, rock and heading towards the facility.
I assume we've rigged up like a timer on our HUD for when we estimate it'll be done deheating, right?
No. Your VI can send you a long range transmission from the ship.
The issue is we don't want to have long range communications.
The VI, the ship itself can send a longer range transmission than your helmet to helmet would.
Encrypted.
Okay.
Like I'm worried about the guest picking up
the full encrypted everything that I was saying that your helmet to helmet would be. Yep. So ships can do much longer range, no problem. Somebody sees a huntsman. Ships can do.
Thunder just shook my entire house.
Oh. But so the ship can do much longer range, so you're fine.
Tash, it was a huntsman that shook your entire.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. That was. I thought a light was going to fall down or something. That was big.
You wouldn't have seen that coming, I think.
So with the with what time it is right now, because I do have to get to work. I actually have like 3 hours of meetings today.
Nice.
I'm just gonna be staring at a computer screen all day. My eyeballs will be falling on my face tonight. So either way, I have to get to work. So you guys make it up the mountain. Jake, your character is going to want to take some degree of rest because of the exhaustion. It was just a walk for 2 hours up a mountainside. I'm not hitting your character with exhaustion. It takes 8 hours to get rid of. That would be ridiculous. But definitely he is impacted by having the 1 degree of exhaustion arriving up there. A description of what the place looks like, I will give you next time, but I will tell you it's not like it's at the goddamn crest of the mountain. They have sensors and everything that are up there, equipment up there, but this is going to be at a plateau that is most of the way up to the actual like crater toppy blowout area that has happened beforehand. But I'll give you a full description at the beginning of next session when we get back to it. So Awesome. Anything anybody wants to say before we bounce?
Oh.
Oh, I do. I totally forgot from last time, from Monday night session. Anybody have anything you want to say or no?
I just want to say something very ironic here that shows just how bad the new official verification system on Twitter is. Destiny 2 is official. Bungie is not.
It just means Bungie's not paying the $8. You know.
No.
It's stupid.
This is not the verification. This is their new official verification for companies and people in politics to show that it's them, because we didn't have a system in place for that already. But yeah, so they both got the verified tick. The official tick, however, is only on Destiny 2 and not on the Bungie. Bungie, who makes Destiny 2.
I think the difference between the two, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I think the difference is that verified is to prove that even if you aren't an official person of influence, at least you're able to prove that you're not just an egg, a random troll, a Russian bot, so on and so forth. It's supposed to discredit the value of those things because you have to verify who you are. No, but you pay those $8, but I could be mistaken. I haven't researched into it, but it seems like you have to pay $8, but also show proof of who you are with a verified email account and so on and so forth. Whereas right now we don't really have that. I literally have several Twitter accounts. I have one as Daelric, one as Scott, one as Lost Initiative. Plus, I had a couple of funny ones we did back in the old days of Lost Initiative, where there was an Eagle one or something, and then there was a Grauman's mom one or something. Or I had a couple of joke ones too. So I've made 6 Twitter accounts as one person, but none of them had to be verified. I just made an account.
Don't lie. You've got your troll accounts that you tweet at that.
Actually, no,
that guy that lives down the road from you that's running.
No, oh my god, that's so funny. All right, cool. So last thing I want to say before we bounce out of here, everybody, I just wanted to, Neil had reached out to me and asked me to do a favor for somebody that I have never met before. I don't know this person. So just kind of making sure that you're aware of it. Neil.
Oh, you did say that.
On Monday, but not today.
Oh yeah, that's what that meant. Yeah.
So Neil has a friend who this is pertinent to the story. She happens to be a trans woman and lives in the UK. Now the UK, fortunately for them and for all of you, but not me in America, they have universal health care. But the universal health care does not cover everything, unfortunately. And so some of the surgery that she is hoping to get is not covered by the NTS, I believe it's called. And so she did start a GoFundMe, NHS, thank you. NHS is not covered by that. So she did start a GoFundMe to try to assist her in getting this. I don't want to go too much into the details. It's not my story to tell. She explains it, and here's the link right here in this GoFundMe page. I do not know Haley. I have never met Haley before. I do not know her at all. But this is a personal friend of Neil's, an IRL friend of Neil's. So this isn't a fake page. This is a real person that Neil knows, and we all know and love Neil. So we're good to go there.
Do we?
I know that people are skeptical at GoFundMes, which is why I'm saying this. It's somebody that Neil knows. If it was just a random person, that it'd be a different conversation. But Neil knows them personally. So if you want to help her out, at the very least, you can click on the link and read it. I believe that actually increases the amount of viewership it's going to get on the GoFundMe homepage. If you want to share it with within the other communities you're a part of, super cool. If you're willing and capable of donating to her cause, cool for that as well. But otherwise, just wanted to share the love. I'll be doing so all week on both channels. So anyways, thank you guys very much. I'll see you tonight at Lost Initiative, and next week on Wednesday, Friday, of course, and then next week on Wednesday for us entering this facility. Whoop, whoop. And we'll see whether or not you guys actually fight Geth.
Oh, ew, yeah.
Hopefully not.
All right.
Now fuck that. Let's do this.
Well, now she's not there. You don't really care, right?
Oh boy.
All right. Cool. Setting up a.
I really enjoyed this session. I'm just saying.
What did you say?
Oh, they can still hear you. You don't want to say nice things.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
It sucked.
It sucks. Scott, can we play something else?